The greatest mysteries of human life are rarely found in the things we choose. They are found in the things that seem to choose us. Love belongs to this mystery. We often imagine that another person falls in love because of beauty, charm, intelligence, or kindness. These are comfortable explanations because they allow the conscious mind to believe it understands what has happened. But the heart has never been ruled by logic alone. It moves according to invisible forces, hidden memories, forgotten longings, and silent desires that neither person fully recognizes. There is a strange experience that many people never question because it feels too natural to examine. You meet someone, and almost immediately they seem familiar. Not because you have seen their face before, but because something inside you responds to them with unexpected intensity. Logic cannot explain it. Time cannot justify it. The connection appears to exist before words are exchanged, before trust is earned, before love should reasonably exist. What has happened is not simply attraction. Something much deeper has been stirred beneath the surface of awareness. Every human being carries within them parts of their own nature that remain undeveloped, ignored, or hidden. These qualities do not disappear simply because they are forgotten. They continue to exist in silence, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Most people spend their lives searching for these missing pieces without realizing that the search is taking place. They believe they are looking for another person, when in truth they are searching for a reflection of something buried within themselves. Then someone enters their life. There is nothing obviously extraordinary about this person. They may speak softly, move with quiet confidence, or possess a calmness that cannot easily be described. Yet these outward qualities are not the true source of the attractions. They merely serve as a doorway through which the hidden mind begins to recognize something it has long forgotten. The individual standing before them becomes a mirror, reflecting possibilities they have never fully embraced within themselves. This recognition is rarely conscious. The person does not say, "You remind me of the courage I have neglected," or "You reflect the tenderness I have refused to express." Instead, they simply feel drawn toward you with a force that seems impossible to resist. They interpret this powerful pull as love, because the conscious mind always seeks a simple explanation for emotions that originate in places it cannot see. What they truly experience is the awakening of an inner world. Your presence quietly gives life to qualities that had been asleep for years. Around you, they feel more alive, more authentic, more hopeful than they have in a very long time. They laugh more freely. They dream more boldly. They begin imagining a future that once seemed impossible. Naturally, they conclude that you are the cause of this transformation. But the deeper truth is more mysterious. You did not create these qualities within them. You simply revealed what had always existed beneath fear, disappointment, and forgotten experiences. Your existence acted like light entering a dark room. The furniture was always there, but only now could it be seen. The transformation feels miraculous because what was hidden suddenly becomes visible. This is why someone can fall deeply in love with another person after only a brief encounter. The intensity is not measured by the amount of time they have known you. It is measured by the depth of what your presence awakens within them. A single conversation can touch regions of the soul that years of ordinary relationships never reached. Yet this experience carries both beauty and danger. If they believe you alone possess the power to make them feel complete, they may begin to cling to you with increasing desperation. They mistake the mirror for the treasure itself, instead of recognizing that the strength, peace, or love they discovered belongs to their own inner nature. They believe it exists only because you are nearby. In doing so, they unknowingly place the responsibility for their inner life into another person's hands. The deepest attraction often begins not because someone finally found the perfect person, but because they unknowingly encountered a living reflection of the self they had been longing to become all along. What appears to be love is often something far more symbolic than people are willing to admit. Rarely does a person fall deeply in love with another human being based only on what is visible. Beneath every intense emotional attachment lies an invisible story, one that began long before the two people ever met. Every soul carries silent desires that remain unspoken, needs that were never fulfilled, and dreams that have waited patiently for years without finding a place to rest. When someone enters their life who seems capable of carrying those dreams, the heart responds with extraordinary force. The remarkable thing is that the other person does not need to promise anything. They do not need to declare everlasting devotion or perform heroic acts. Sometimes a simple smile, a thoughtful conversation, or an unexplainable sense of familiarity is enough. The mind immediately begins weaving meaning around these small moments. It transforms ordinary experiences into signs, coincidences into destiny, and simple kindness into proof that something extraordinary has finally arrived. This happens because the human psyche naturally searches for symbols. It longs to give shape to its deepest desires, and when it finds someone who seems to embody those desires, that individual becomes much more than a person. They become the living representation of everything the heart has secretly hoped to find. They symbolize peace after years of chaos, belonging after a lifetime of loneliness, or hope after countless disappointments. The emotional intensity does not come only from who you are. It comes from everything your presence begins to represent. Imagine someone who has spent years feeling unseen. They have walked through life believing that no one truly understands them. Then they meet you, and for the first time they feel genuinely listened to. Perhaps you simply paid attention while others were distracted. Perhaps you accepted a part of them they had always tried to hide. To an outside observer, your actions might seem ordinary, yet to them, you have become the symbol of acceptance itself. They no longer see only your face. They see the possibility of finally being understood. The same pattern appears in countless forms. Someone longing for stability may see you as the embodiment of safety. Someone exhausted by betrayal may see you as the image of unwavering trust. Someone searching for purpose may begin believing that their future somehow begins with you. In every case, the emotional bond grows stronger because it is nourished not only by reality, but also by imagination. The heart quietly fills the empty spaces with its own hopes, creating an image that feels more powerful than any objective truth. This symbolic vision explains why people often describe love in language that seems almost spiritual. They speak of finding the missing piece, their other half, or the one they were meant to meet. These expressions reveal something profound. They are not simply describing another person's. They are describing the meaning they have attached to that person. The beloved becomes a vessel carrying invisible longings that have existed for years, perhaps even since childhood. There is undeniable beauty in this process because it reveals the incredible depth of human hope. It shows that even after pain, disappointment, and loss, the soul continues searching for something greater than itself. It refuses to surrender its desire for connection, meaning, and wholeness. Yet the same process also contains a hidden danger. The more symbolic someone becomes, the less clearly they are seen. Their ordinary flaws begin to disappear behind the powerful image the mind has created. Soon the real person and the symbolic figure begin to separate. One is a human being with imperfections, fears, and limitations. The other is the embodiment of every dream the heart has carried in silence. When someone falls dangerously deep in love, they are often embracing both at once without realizing the difference. They believe they have found the answer to all their longing, when in truth they have found a mirror upon which they have painted the deepest desires of their own soul. Most people believe love begins with what they can clearly see. They think it starts with physical attraction, shared interests, pleasant conversations, or the comfort of spending time together. These things certainly have their place, but they rarely explain why one person becomes unforgettable while another, equally kind and attractive, fades quietly into memory. The deepest movements of the heart are rarely directed by conscious thoughts. They arise from a hidden region of the mind, where forgotten experiences, buried emotions, and silent desires continue to shape perception long after they have disappeared from awareness. There are moments when another person's presence touches this hidden world without effort. They may speak with a certain calmness, carry themselves with quiet confidence, or possess a way of listening that feels strangely familiar. None of these qualities appear extraordinary on the surface, yet something within begins to stir. The reaction is immediate but impossible to explain. It feels as though an invisible door has been opened, allowing emotions that have remained locked away for years to quietly emerge. This awakening is often confusing because it seems to arrive without permissions. A person may suddenly find themselves thinking about you throughout the day, replaying simple conversations in their mind, or searching for hidden meaning in ordinary moments. They cannot understand why your absence feels heavier than it should or why your presence brings an unusual sense of peace. They believe they are becoming obsessed with you, but what is truly happening is far more profound. Your existence has awakened emotions that were already waiting beneath the surface. Many people carry forgotten wounds that have never been fully acknowledged. They learn to bury disappointment, loneliness, fear, and longing beneath daily responsibilities. Over time, these feelings become invisible, even to the person carrying them. Yet the unconscious never forgets. It quietly preserves every emotional experience, waiting for something that can safely bring it back into awareness. Then you appear. Without realizing it, your presence creates an atmosphere where those hidden emotions begin to rise. Around you, they may feel safe enough to remember what they had spent years trying to forget. Old dreams return. Lost hopes begin to breathe again. Even childhood feelings that seemed permanently buried can suddenly become alive. This emotional awakening feels deeply connected to you because it happened in your presence, but the truth is that you merely opened a door that already existed within them. This is why love often feels irrational. The conscious mind searches for practical explanations, listing your qualities one by one in an attempt to justify the intensity of its emotions. It says you are kind, intelligent, attractive, or understanding. While these observations may be true, they do not explain the overwhelming force of the attachment. The real explanation lies beneath awareness, where the unconscious has recognized something meaningful long before the conscious mind has caught up. As these hidden emotions continue to awaken, they begin changing the way the person experiences the world. Colors seem brighter. Music carries greater meaning. Silence becomes comforting instead of empty. They find themselves imagining futures they had once considered impossible. It feels as though life itself has become richer simply because you exist within it. Naturally, they assume you are the source of this transformation. Yet no human being possesses the power to create an entirely new soul within another. What you awaken was already there, waiting patiently beneath years of habit, fear, and emotional distance. Your presence simply gave those hidden parts permission to emerge. You became the catalyst rather than the creator, the spark rather than the fire itself. This is why someone can fall dangerously deep in love without fully understanding why. They believe they are responding to another person, but they are also responding to the forgotten regions of their own inner world that have finally come alive. The heart mistakes this profound inner awakening for the magic of another individual, when in reality it is witnessing the silent return of parts of itself that had been sleeping all along. From the moment human beings become aware of themselves, they begin quietly imagining the person they could one day become. This image is rarely spoken aloud, yet it lives beneath every ambition, every regret, and every longing. It is the version of the self that is fearless where they are afraid, peaceful where they are restless, confident where they are uncertain, and whole where they feel divided. Most people spend years chasing this invisible ideal without realizing that they are doing so. They search through careers, achievements, friendships, and relationships, hoping that somewhere along the way they will finally discover the missing piece that will complete them. Then they meet someone who seems to embody everything they have been striving toward. At first, The attraction appears ordinary. They admire your confidence, your calmness, your compassion, or the way you carry yourself through difficult moments. But admiration has a remarkable tendency to grow into something much larger when it touches an unfulfilled desire. Gradually, your qualities stop being things they simply appreciate. Instead, they become symbols of the person they secretly wish they could become themselves. Without realizing it, they begin projecting their ideal self onto you. The strengths they long to possess, the peace they desperately seek, the courage they have struggled to find, all of these qualities seem to exist effortlessly within you. They no longer see you only as another individual living your own life. They begin to see you as the living image of their own unrealized potential. This process unfolds quietly, hidden beneath the surface of conscious thought. They may find themselves believing that life finally makes sense when they are with you. Decisions become easier. Doubts seem less overwhelming. The future appears brighter than it did before. It feels as though your presence has transformed the world around them. In reality, something even more profound has happened. Being near you has allowed them to briefly experience the person they believe they are capable of becoming. This is why the emotional attachment grows with such surprising intensity. They are not simply protecting a relationship. They are protecting a vision of themselves that your presence has awakened. Every conversation feels meaningful because it strengthens that vision. Every shared moment reinforces the belief that they are moving closer to the life they have always imagined. Losing you no longer feels like losing another person. It feels like losing the future they have quietly built within their own mind. The heart often mistakes inspiration for destiny. When another person awakens dormant possibilities within us, we naturally assume they are the source of those possibilities. We forget that no one can place greatness, peace, or confidence into another soul if those qualities do not already exist there in some hidden form. Another person can illuminate them, encourage them, and call them forward, but they cannot create them from nothing. Because this truth remains unseen, people often become deeply dependent on the one who inspired the transformations. They begin believing that happiness exists only in that person's presence. Their own strength feels borrowed rather than discovered. Their confidence seems to vanish whenever the relationship is threatened. This dependence grows because they have confused the mirror with the reflection. Instead of recognizing that they are witnessing their own unrealized potential, they become convinced that the other person possesses it on their behalf. The tragedy of this illusion is not that the love is false. The emotions are entirely genuine. The hope is real. The longing is real. The transformation they experience is also real. What is mistaken is the source. They believe another human being has completed them, when in truth that person has merely revealed a hidden image that was waiting within them all along. The deepest love often begins when someone sees in another the person they have always wished to become, and in that moment, they believe they have finally found the missing part of themselves. Love often begins as a quiet attraction, something gentle and almost effortless. At first, there is curiosity, a desire to know more, to spend a little more time together, to hear another conversation, to witness another smile. Nothing feels overwhelming. The heart moves carefully, testing unfamiliar ground. But there comes a moment, often unnoticed, when affection crosses an invisible boundary. What was once a simple desire to be near someone slowly becomes the fear of being without them. This is where love begins to change its nature. The human mind does not fear losing what it considers ordinary. It fears losing what has become essential to its sense of stability. Once another person becomes deeply connected to our inner peace, our hopes, or our vision of the future, the possibility of separation no longer feels like the loss of a relationship. It feels like the collapse of an entire emotional world. The imagination immediately begins creating painful futures that have not yet happened, and those imagined losses often produce more suffering than reality itself. This is why attachment grows stronger in the presence of uncertainty. The more precious something becomes, the more intensely the mind tries to protect it. Every delayed message, every unexpected silence, every subtle change in behavior suddenly carries enormous emotional weight. What another person may see as an ordinary moment, the anxious heart interprets as a possible warning. Questions begin multiplying without answers. Has something changed? Are they pulling away? Did I do something wrong? These thoughts appear not because love has disappeared, but because the fear of losing it has quietly taken its place. Fear has a remarkable ability to magnify emotions. It sharpens attention until every detail seems meaningful. A single word spoken differently can become the subject of endless reflection. A brief distance feels much larger than it truly is. The heart begins watching for signs of danger even where none exist. In trying to preserve the connection, it unknowingly creates the very anxiety that threatens its peace. This emotional intensity is often mistaken for the depth of love itself. People assume that because they cannot stop thinking about someone, their feelings must be extraordinary. They believe constant worry is evidence of profound devotion, yet love and fear are not the same force. Love invites openness, trust, and growth. Fear demands certainty, control, and reassurance. When fear enters love, it wraps itself around affection so tightly that the two become difficult to separate. The deepest irony is that the person being loved may not even realize the transformation taking place. They continue living their ordinary life, unaware that another soul has begun measuring every day by their presence. The one who fears loss slowly gives greater power to the relationship than to their own inner stability. Their happiness rises and falls according to another person's attention. Their confidence depends upon another person's approval. Their emotional world becomes increasingly fragile because it is no longer rooted within themselves. The imagination strengthens this attachment by constantly recalling moments of closeness. Shared conversations become treasured memories. Small gestures grow into sacred symbols. Even ordinary places begin carrying emotional significance, simply because they were experienced together. The heart preserves these moments with extraordinary care, making the thought of losing them feel almost unbearable. Every cherished memory becomes another thread binding them more tightly to the relationship. Yet beneath this fear lies a deeper truth. The terror of losing another person often reveals an even greater fear, the fear of returning to the emptiness that existed before they arrived. It is not only the absence of the beloved that feels frightening. It is the possibility of becoming once again the lonely, uncertain, or disconnected self they believed they had left behind. The relationship has become intertwined with their identity, their hope, and their vision of life. This is why someone can fall dangerously deep in love. It is not simply because their affection continues to grow, but because their fear of losing what the relationship has come to represent grows alongside it. The stronger the emotional meaning attached to another person, the greater the anxiety surrounding their absence. In that silent union between love and fear, attachment reaches its greatest intensity, convincing the heart that without the one it loves, it may also lose the most meaningful part of itself. There are encounters in life that seem too meaningful to be explained by chance. A single conversation alters the direction of your thoughts. A brief meeting leaves an impression that refuses to fade. Someone enters your world, and almost immediately it feels as though they were always meant to be there. The mind struggles to explain the intensity of the experience, so it reaches for the language of destiny. It whispers that this meeting was written long before either of you were born, that every road you traveled existed only to lead you toward this one person. Such beliefs feel comforting, because they give overwhelming emotions a grand and beautiful explanations. Yet the deepest transformations within the human soul often disguise themselves as destiny. What appears to be a mysterious force drawing two people together may actually be the awakening of something that has been waiting silently within one of them for years. The encounter feels extraordinary, not because another person has magically completed them, but because the relationship has disturbed the quiet patterns that once kept their inner world asleep. Before meeting you, they may have lived according to familiar routines, Their fears were predictable. Their dreams had grown smaller with time. They accepted loneliness as normal and disappointment as unavoidable. Without realizing it, they had become comfortable with a version of themselves shaped more by survival than by possibility. Life continued, but something essential remained untouched beneath the surface. Then your presence interrupted that silence. It was not necessarily your appearance or your words that created such a profound effect. It was the way your existence challenged the limits of the life they had quietly accepted. Around you, they began imagining different futures. They questioned old beliefs they had never dared to examine. Forgotten ambitions returned with surprising strength. Emotions they believed had disappeared forever suddenly demanded to be felt again. It was as though your arrival had awakened a sleeping part of their spirit. Such an experience naturally feels larger than ordinary attractions. The changes occurring within them are so significant that they search for an equally significant explanation. The idea of destiny becomes irresistible because it seems capable of matching the depth of what they are experiencing. They convince themselves that no ordinary meeting could create such powerful emotions. Surely, they think, this person must have been sent into their life for a reason. What they rarely recognize is that the true miracle is not outside them. It is within them. The relationship has become the catalyst for an inner transformation that was waiting for the right moment to begin. The courage they now feel was always possible. The tenderness they now express always existed beneath their defenses. The hope that has returned was never completely lost. Your presence did not create these qualities. It simply gave them permission to emerge. Because this transformation feels inseparable from you, they begin believing that losing you would mean losing everything they have become. They mistake the doorway for the destination. Instead of recognizing that the journey now lies within their own soul, they believe it remains entirely dependent upon your continued presence. This misunderstanding deepens their attachments, making every moment together feel sacred and every possibility of separation feel unbearable. There is a profound difference between believing another person is your destiny and realizing they awakened your transformation. The first belief places all meaning outside yourself, making your happiness dependent upon circumstances you cannot control. The second returns that power to its rightful place. It acknowledges that another human being may inspire, challenge, or illuminate you, but the actual work of becoming whole always unfolds within your own inner world. When someone falls dangerously deep in love, they often mistake the intensity of their inner awakening for proof that fate has chosen one person above all others. In truth, what they call destiny is frequently the moment they finally encounter the hidden parts of themselves they had spent a lifetime avoiding. They believe they have discovered the answer in another soul, when what they have truly discovered is the beginning of their own transformation. A journey that was always waiting for the courage to begin.